Well, Sri Lanka's government has, within the past couple of hours, been describing how it prevented more loss of life in Friday's aerial attack by the Tamil Tigers. Fresh claims have been coming from both sides as they battle through what many consider to be the bitter final act of their quarter of a century-long civil war. A pro-Tamil group says the military has killed civilians within a safety zone. The government has just held a media conference giving its version of the Friday attacks on Colombo. Our correspondent David Hawkins was at that media briefing. He joins us now on the phone from Colombo. David, what did the government have to say?
Timur, the Air Force spokesman said that the two aircraft, the two Tamil Tiger aircraft, were picked up almost immediately after they took off from makeshift airstrips in the northern part of the country, and they were tracked all the way down across the island, but they were flying low and slow, and the Air Force interceptors that were scrambled to shoot them down essentially couldn't find them. So when the aircraft made it to Colombo, anti-aircraft batteries in and around the city lit up on these airplanes, and the Air Force claims to have shot both of those airplanes down before they were able to reach their presumed targets.
What did they think their presumed targets would be? Initial reports on Friday were that they thought they were loaded with bombs.
That's true. They said that both airplanes were loaded with C4 explosives. They believe that the target of one of the airplanes, the one that was shot down near the international airport, which also has a Sri Lankan Air Force base attached to it, they believe that indeed was the target, that aircraft was intending to crash into a hangar area perhaps, or some other part of the Air Force base there. They believe the other airplane, the one which did hit a building in downtown Colombo, the a tax building here in downtown Colombo, they believe that plane's target was either the president's house nearby or perhaps the Air Force headquarters, which is just a few hundred meters down the road.
Did the government offer any explanation as to where these planes came from? Because they have been claiming for so very long now that the Tamils were all but defeated and that their aerial capacity had been negated.
Well, they said that they had taken the Tamil Tiger airstrips, and they said that they have taken a great deal of munitions and ordnance, but they maintain that they knew all along that the Tamil Tigers still had some airplanes left. I believe 5 of these small Czech-made airplanes, which are sometimes called Czech Cessnas. They're very small planes, 2-seaters, 1 engine, and they've been adapted to carry these explosives and perhaps drop bombs. They've been used about 10 times in the past. The Air Force spokesman said they knew that they still had these planes, but they didn't think that they had the capacity to launch them because they've taken over all of the known Tamil Tiger airstrips in the north.
And any further word on how they think this conflict is going, David? All these claims of imminent victory still seem to be coming to naught.
That's well, they claim that this is that these airstrikes were the last gasp, an act of desperation by the Tamil Tigers. They put up maps during this briefing showing that the area of control by the Tamil Tigers, they say, is now less than 90 square kilometers. There's 2 military divisions, 2 army divisions pressing in on them now. There are 50,000 Sri Lankan soldiers in the north surrounding no one knows how many Tamil Tiger rebels still trapped inside that war zone.
All right, David, for the moment, thanks very much indeed. David Hawkins live in Colombo. And also in Colombo, I'm joined now by Mahinda Samarasinghe. He's Sri Lanka's Minister of Disaster Management and Human Rights. Thank you for being with us. You heard, presumably, David Hawkins' report there. Let me just put the same question to you. Given the fact that the Tamil Tigers appear still to have some sort of aerial capacity, and this victory that you have spoken on for so long has yet to be declared, what exactly is your assessment of the position you're in right now?
Well, our priority number 1 and priority number 2 and priority number 3 is to get the civilians who are being held deliberately and by force by the LTT out of harm's way and into government control areas. The President, His Excellency the President of Sri Lanka, made a public appeal for these, on behalf of these civilians, for them to come into government control areas and that they would be received well and looked after. Nearly 36,000 have responded in coming to government control areas, and we are continuing to look after them and planning for their resettlement in their villages. Yes.
My question was, how is it that the Tamil Tigers are still able to attack your capital city and crash planes into it when you claim to have defeated them?
Well, I mean, this was something, as was explained a little while ago, something which was always on the cards, because We knew that they had these 2 airplanes.
So you haven't won yet, basically, is
right
what you're
from the
saying.
outset that they had 3. No, the LTT will be defeated very shortly, and everyone knows that. The whole world has acknowledged that. But as I said earlier, our
I'm sorry to
priority is
interrupt. The whole world
get the
actually
civilians out of harm's way.
Apologies for interrupting. The whole world has not acknowledged any such thing. The whole world seems to believe that a military victory over a guerrilla movement is near impossible.
I totally disagree with you on that. Every report that I have seen has acknowledged the fact that the government troops have made significant advances, that the LTT is trapped in this very small area.
That's not the point I'm making, with respect. The point I'm making...
square kilometers.
The point I'm making is that a guerrilla movement fighting from jungles can almost continue indefinitely. What would you consider to be a victory in this?
I don't think in this instance we can say that because they are trapped. They are trapped in this tiny coastal area, and it will be only a number of days before they will have to either surrender by laying down their weapons, or that they would be totally annihilated.
Okay.
Now this is something which we are working on, but our priority, of course, is once again, I say, to release the civilians, to secure the release of the civilians.
All right, let's address the civilian issue. We've got some film that we've been showing that I think you're aware of, released by Tamil groups, suggesting that air attacks have been hitting the very areas that you say you're keeping people safe. The pictures show dead bodies and destruction in an area where people thought they had come to for safety. How do you explain that?
No, we disagree with this, and this is a concocted version of what is really happening there. There are no attacks, air attacks, neither are there any long-range weapons of the army which is being used in this small area where the LTT is now trapped, and are using the civilians as a human shield. As I said earlier, our priority is to secure the release of the civilians and to ensure the safety of the civilians. And in fact, we have taken a conscious decision not to use these long-range weapons because we don't want any civilians harmed. And in fact, if those civilians were not in the midst of the LTT, by now the LTT would have been totally defeated. So it is really the fact that the civilians are there and being held against their will and are being used as fodder by the LTT, which is delaying this whole process of defeat for the LTT. But we are determined to ensure the defeat of the LTT. We will do it, but we will not compromise on the safety of the civilians.
You keep stressing the safety of the civilians. Why is it then that Human Rights Watch believes that the civilians are being treated extremely badly and being kept in circumstances that are little better than prison camps?
That is absolutely wrong. In fact, Sir John Holmes, the chief of UN OCHA, was in Sri Lanka from Thursday. He was taken to Vavuniya, where all of these camps and villages are set up. He saw for himself the way that we are looking after these people, our people, the Sri Lankan citizens. And in fact, he has acknowledged the fact that the UN and INGOs and NGOs are working side by side with government officials in looking after these civilians. So how can you say it's a detention center when that kind of openness has been shown?
Mahinda Samarasinghe in Colombo, thank you for talking to us.